Hi everyone, my name is Angela Dew and welcome back to another episode of SFDTV. As you may know, it is Asian American Pacific Islander Month and we decided to discuss the model minority stereotypes in society. So let's speak to a few students on their thoughts on these stereotypes.
I believe for Asians, the model minority stereotype is that we are all smart. I believe that maybe people think I'm a lot smarter than I am, and I feel like sometimes a little pressured by what people view me as, and I sometimes feel like if I don't have the right amount of intelligence, then my worth as being somewhat like authentically Asian is corrupted in a way.
Yes.
For me personally, I feel like the model minority stereotype is that Asian parents are very strict and put a lot of pressure on their children when that's really not the case a lot of the time. I feel like my parents especially, they push me to do well, but they also are not as strict as a lot of people consider Asian people to be. And growing up, that's kind of been a pressure on me. I feel like a lot of people view my parents as extremely strict even when they haven't met them. A lot of people have sympathy for me because they feel like my parents put me under so much pressure like they would expect an Asian parent to do, when that's really not the case.
Thank you to all the students who shared their thoughts. Now let's discuss the history of anti-Asian sentiments.
From the time the first Asian immigrants came to America in the mid-1800s, Asians have faced much discrimination in our nation. The first major wave of Asian immigration began in the 1850s with the Chinese. In 1864, the first crew of Chinese workers were hired to build the Transcontinental Railroad, as the hazardous conditions and hard work were deemed too dangerous for the average white male. Between 15 and 20,000 Chinese immigrants built this railroad, with hundreds dead from explosions, landslide, accidents, and diseases. During World War II, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the U.S. government began rounding up Japanese Americans and immigrants, forcing them to live in internment camps in the western half of the country. Approximately 110,000 Japanese Americans were taken from their homes and relocated to camps where living conditions were that of a prison. Through the mid-20th century, many more populations of Asians began immigrating to the U.S. For instance, Korean and Vietnamese immigrants came due to their homelands getting devastated by the wars. This brought on further racism and microaggressions due to the new customs, languages, and cultures being brought to America once again. In 2020, former President Donald Trump coined the term China virus when referring to the COVID-19 virus. This term brought on a new wave of xenophobia towards the Asian American community. People started attacking and murdering Asians of all different nationalities because of the anti-Asian discrimination being spread. In blaming one nation for a virus, it only resurged the wave of xenophobia towards the Asian American community. The lack of media coverage against the violent acts has further perpetuated the model minority stereotype, in that because Asians are of a higher socioeconomic status and educational background, racism doesn't happen as much.
Thank you for watching this episode of SFDTV, and happy Asian American Pacific Islander Month.
Today, Wednesday, May 26th, there will be candy grams on sale right outside the cafeteria during all lunch periods. You will be able to write a short message to your friends and classmates in Chinese, Japanese, or English, if you prefer. The candy grams will contain an assortment of candies with origins in Asian and Pacific Islander culture.